And now, of course, this is a lovely location, like a creative room, a creative space, and I've always understood that the further away you are from your everyday work, the more it gives your mind some space to focus on the thing that you're going to do. So I'm assuming here we will focus tonight on the upcoming elections in Serbia. On the 17th of December, there will be parliamentary elections, and as you know, Serbia is an important player in the region. It is an important election because there is a sitting government and a united opposition, and in that kind of scenario it's always tense, it's always very relevant what will come out of it. And tonight we will explore not just the local political situation and the expectations for next week, but also the regional role that Serbia plays and that the outcome of the elections may play in on the background of the accession of the region into the European Union, of the maybe even the relations and stability in the region. So these elections will have a lot of consequences internally and externally, and I think it's great to see all of you here to think along with us about what that will mean. And I'm very proud. I'm Kido Koenig. I work with Foundation Max van der Stoel, but I'm of course just the figurehead of 4 organizations that want to put this on the agenda. So you see them there, S&D Group. You see them here as well, and you see Thijs. He was already present before he was physically present because we put his test your knowledge about our neighbors with the whole Western Balkans and some of the Eastern countries now. Some of them are on the list for European Union, but some definitely aren't yet. Maybe that's for another time. So S&D Group, but also the Jonge Socialisten in the PvdA, so JS. Can I see some hands who are from there? Okay, there we are. Oh, you're pretty much half of us. Excellent. IFG, so International Foundation GroenLinks. Great to see some of you familiar faces, and of course FMS. Foundation Max van der Stoel. So 4 of us as organizations, we put this together. I'm very happy to welcome you here. So that is the word of welcome I wanted to share. However, I welcome you all here physically, but the messages that we are going to spread tonight are of course not going to stay here in this room in Utrecht, because we have our camera over there. And the outcome of this is of course also interesting for our international network. As Foundation Max van der Stoel, we're also involved in something called the European Forum. And the European Forum is a bunch of countries where the progressive parties have united to coordinate and learn about what we have in terms of policy towards the East. So we will also share it there. So we have maybe a bit more heads that we're talking to than we are currently aware of. But this is what I wanted to say in terms of welcome. And I'm going to share with you, of course, what we're going to do tonight. We'll have 2 panel discussions with 3 great panelists. We have one video from Serbia, from one of the parties who are part of the united opposition. But before we go into all of that, and both of the panelists will have time to also say some Q&A, you may make some remarks and ask some questions, and we can discuss with the audience. But before we go into all of that, you noticed I'm speaking English, because we are joined by a dignitary from Serbia. You are actually the first secretary at the I can't find the word for embassy, even though it's almost the same in Dutch. For the Serbian embassy in the Netherlands, that's why I didn't compute, the Serbian embassy in the Netherlands, Mr. Dušan Vukić. A round of applause, and thank you for being with us. Could you please join me? We would like to spend some minutes to make use of your wisdom about the country, to understand a little bit about the upcoming elections. And we're going to talk about setting some of the scene. So, you know, what is the background, the internal politics, maybe that you would like to highlight, and also maybe because you're now coming to the Netherlands for a while as a part of the embassy. You may know that in the Netherlands we can be very critical about all the countries outside of the EU, and we look with a very stern eye, and we have very high democratic standards, even though in our own country you may say a thing or two about how that's going. But I would like to also give you the opportunity to set straight a couple of things that you feel in the Netherlands we don't understand about Serbia and Serbian politics. So we can start this evening having a briefing about what we should know, but also what we've been believing that you think we need to correct. And then we can use that in the panels as well. And of course, you'll be here to also share more thoughts as we go along. So, Mr. Dušan Vukić, I would like to give you the microphone to share your thoughts with us.
Well, thank you very much. First, thank you for organizing this event on Serbian elections, and thank you all for coming on this really cold December night. And Serbian elections, we are having them in less than 2 weeks, now 17 December. And what's important to say that it is early elections, it's not elections, so it's not regular one. So because the last elections we had in April, yes, last year, so usually mandate is 4 years, but we are having now early election. What is the reason for that? If you might remember, there was that terrible shooting in Serbian school, elementary school, in May. After that, we had this citizen protest, like on Belgrade streets and other cities, and also part of opposition took part in this protest, and their request was for early elections. And obviously, ruling parties and government and president concluded that it would be maybe better for them as well to have elections now in December than to have maybe later next year. So we are having parliamentary elections and also local elections, but not for all municipalities, some of them, 66 altogether, and the rest will have next year, maybe in April, May. And among the most important, most interesting, maybe for all, it's election for capital Belgrade city council. So we are having ruling parties. They are participating in 2-3 groups and coalitions. And when it comes to opposition, again, there is something which we call pro-Western, pro-European opposition, which participate together. They join their forces together, several parties and civil groups. And
it's called UAC, right? So United Against Violence.
Exactly. And we have also right-wing parties which participate in. They try to reach agreement participating on one list, but they fail to do it. So they participate in 3-4 groups, like right-wing parties. So and when it comes to outcome, of course, it is difficult to predict, but maybe we expect the race to be more narrow than it was last year during parliamentary elections, and especially it will be interesting for Belgrade elections because right now some polls showing that opposition parties might win, might at least get more seats than ruling parties. So it will be very, very interesting race. And when it comes, you mentioned that what is that in the Netherlands sometimes strict towards countries outside the EU.
Yeah.
Well, for example, I can mention this. I'm sure you'll talk, and that's also it's one topic about media. And I can guess that maybe there will be some comments that media are more or less under ruling party and government control, so that's why the election is not fair. But what surprised me when I was following the Dutch elections recently, and after the elections, when we got this outcome, we could see that the winner of the elections, talking about PVV, and in Dutch mainstream media, they were extremely underrepresented during the election campaign.
In the polls?
Yeah, in the polls as well, yeah. So other parties, maybe I mentioned like D66, for example, they were like in the top of the list when it comes to representation in media, but on the other side, when you compare their election results, not so great. So when it comes to media also, that I can say that something is not only in Serbia, it could happen also in other countries, that some media, some mainstream media maybe, have their favorites during the election campaign and give them more space, more attention.
Yeah. And then, sorry, so one more question about what you opened with. So there's snap elections, Vukić called them not so long ago. It's on a Sunday. Is it always on a Sunday? It's always on a Sunday. Yeah. Some countries have it always on a Wednesday. Like here, I think the United States always is a Tuesday. And it's something to do with farmers. But here it's always on a Sunday. So you have, I think in the last polls it was about 40% for Vukić party, SNS. But then there are two groups. So let's say, what's your expectation if the current polls are becoming reality? Because you will need a coalition. What will happen then? What's like the political culture when there's no one bloc or one party with an absolute majority?
Well, even now, we in this current government, we are having like coalition. So most probably they have like if you talk about Vukić and his Progressive Party, they have their national partner, and it is obviously Socialist Party, which is part of the government, and also we have several minority parties like Hungarian and other, and then most probably they will also join the government if they need them as well to get majority.
Yeah, and so I'm expecting in the Netherlands it may take a while, that coalition building. Is that the same in Serbia usually? Does it take a long time before a government is formed?
Then even when figures are clear, it might take some time, more than expected, more than we would like to see as a civil servants, because there is whatever people say that things go on and everything is moving. When we have its election, you can see some delays on implementing some politics and some reform steps. So we would, as citizens, would like to see that quicker, but it might take some time.
Yeah. All right. So we'll look ahead to that, and maybe a last question, which will be mostly discussed in the second panel. But since we have you here now, of course, the Netherlands and Serbia have a long-standing relationship, but it's not always been easy for several reasons. You're looking at the elections from here. You live in The Hague. I think when you say I'm in The Hague in Belgrade, they will look at you like you are where. What do you think the influence of these elections is going to be for the relations in the region and with countries like the Netherlands? Of course, you can't say it yet because we don't have an outcome. But when you look at the polls and you look at how it's developing, I think even the opposition, the united opposition, is not making it much easier in terms of the relations with Kosovo. So there may be some complications. And now that we have you here, what's your outlook on the regional effects of these elections?
Well, if ruling parties win elections again, I don't expect some big changes when it comes to foreign policy and the regional relations. If opposition wins, then it is tricky question because we have in opposition they will have to cooperate together, so it will be left-wing parties, right-wing party, so they have different opinions on different issues. For example, Kosovo issue is one of them. So in that case, I expect more to have something which would be technical government, maybe for 1 year, and then to have elections again.
So it will really influence the stability as well. We may have other snap elections, and then maybe we'll see you here next year. But for now, I would like to thank you very much, and a round of applause for Dušan Vukić for coming here and joining. And of course, we will be here across the